Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. Welcome to Podcast Meditations, and we're here on Ep.4 of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So join me as I meditate on the best lines and the lessons that hit me to the core. I'll share them as I read this book for the first time. We're on Chapter 4, Taking Souls. So join me for the ride. I'll share my screen for those on video. Boom, over there. So let's begin. Chapter 4, Taking Souls. The first line that hit me. Okay, oops, there we go. The first line that hit me, and thank God for that, I liked it ugly. So David Goggins is here talking about suffering, these difficulties, these challenges in life. And when we learn to like it ugly, it really changes everything, right? It's like a reframe. Next line, not because I love to suffer, but because I needed to know whether or not I had what it took to belong. Next line, something called surf torture. This was early May, and in the spring, the ocean off Coronado ranges from 59 to 63 degrees. This is Fahrenheit, so that's really cold. After 10 minutes or so, on the verge of hypothermia, we scrambled from the surf zone and stood to attention. While being checked by the doctor for hypothermia, that cycle would repeat itself. We were about to freeze our natural asses off. Bones were rattling up and down that beach. Guys were jackhammering and sniffling, a physical state revealing the quaking conditions of splintering minds. That shit had only just begun. So this one reminds me of those very intense ice bath sessions when I started doing it back in November 2021. Jackhammering here, the term I learned is called aftershocks. Now, it can also even happen while you're in the ice bath or very cold water. So you go into shock. So this is a very intense thing. The good thing I noticed too is they had doctors here in the Navy SEAL training. So that's also very critical when you do your calculated risks, right? So next line, why am I here? Why am I here when we were already borderline hypothermic because nobody has to? Becoming is a choice. It's voluntary torture. He offered us hot soup, a warm shower, blankets, and a ride back to the barracks. That was the bait. He set for quitters to snap up, and he harvested helmets left and right. He was taking the souls of those who caved because they couldn't answer that simple question. So this is the dark side of taking souls in the chapter's name. It's like when the person quits, right? They sell their soul. Now there's also a good meaning to it, and we'll get to that. One day, he stopped into a Navy recruitment office because he knew he needed structure and purpose. So I love this line because this is also a reason why some or many join the Navy recruitment. People seek purpose, people seek structure. You don't have to do it necessarily through like being a Navy SEAL, but this is a very good hint that will direct you to your higher purpose, to your mission in life. Next line. We knew how easy it was to think about quitting when confronted with levels of pain and exhaustion you didn't think possible. So, this one, you feel it in the lines. This is what he went through, and it's just a reality check and awareness. Our boat crews were carrying logs as a unit up and down the beach, soaked, salty, and sandy as shit. I was running with a log on my shoulders, vomiting blood. Bloody snot streamed from my nose and mouth, and the instructors periodically grabbed me and sat me down nearby because they thought I might drop fucking dead. But every time they turned around, I was back in the mix, back on that log. We need to get Goggins out of there, one voice said. Oh shit, Goggins is back on the log. I repeat, Goggins is back on the log. So that's one of his funny stories. But you can see his grit, his resilience, his never give up, even when he was vomiting blood or it was coming out of his nose, he would still go back. He would still not give up. And I love this because sometimes when we feel a bit of pain, and I'm a very visual person, right? We don't know our limits. If he can do it to that level, then maybe I can too, right? Knowing something is coming is only a small part of the battle because torture is torture, and in Hell Week, the only way to get past it is to go through it. So why I love sharing these meditations, these stories, or my life is there's a line, knowing is half the battle, right? That came from like G.I. Joe, like the cartoon. So that is very true. But even if you know, and that's half the battle, you'll still have to do it yourself. You'll still have to feel all the pain and suffering and make the effort. So, I don't mind giving you the knowing, right? Or sharing it because it helps a lot. But you'll still have to go through it yourself. Next line. Finding moments of laughter in the pain and delirium turned the entire melodramatic experience upside down for us. It gave us some control of our emotions. Again, this was all a mind game, and I damn sure wasn't going to lose. So, this is also part of the whole taking souls in the chapter. When you can flip it, when you can flip the pain, that delirium, that suffering, into a moment of laughter or smiling. So, I'll link it just to a personal experience when doing the ice bath. The first 2 minutes is like torture, it's the hardest part. But the moment you can smile in the suffering after that, it's like what David Goggins said, it's like flipping the experience. And it gives you some control over your emotions, your feelings, your mind, your experience, the meaning in the moment. And it's real, it's very real. By Wednesday, we were all broke dick, chafed to holy hell. Our whole body was one big raspberry, oozing pus and blood. So they were training, like, on the beach, the sand, chafing their skin, uh, getting, sore. It's very graphic, but I like it, right? Because just why? When I think I'm suffering, my body is not to that degree. I'm not chafed. I mean, maybe when I attempted my first half marathon, and then, yeah, my skin was already like, you know, chafing or rubbing against my shorts, I would feel that level of pain. But a lot of us give up even before we feel, you know, half of that pain. I was searching for something to fuel me. So I deployed a process that I now call taking souls. On the toughest day of the hardest week in the world's toughest training, Boat Crew 2 was making a mockery of Hell Week. The look on the instructors' faces told a story. Their mouths hung open like they were witnessing something nobody had ever seen before. So that is taking souls, the good side. It's like when you are in the hardest day of your life and then you make a mockery of it. I mean this in the best way possible, meaning you make it look easy, you make the impossible possible. While everyone is suffering, you are smiling. That is taking souls. But an open water hypothermic swim, 1,000 yards offshore in a storm to a boat that had no fucking idea I was heading their way, that sounded like a death sentence. And I hadn't prepared for anything like it. So, this is something that David Goggins was put to a test in the moment, actually. But sometimes the unexpected descends like chaos, and without warning, even the bravest among us must be ready to take on risks and tasks that seem beyond our capabilities. For me, in that moment, it came down to how I wanted to be remembered. I could have refused the order, and I wouldn't have gotten in trouble. And it was obvious that he was asking me to do something that was extremely unsafe. But I also knew that my objective was more than making it through to the other side. So he actually did this crazy challenge or task where he could have died. And behind the scenes, the instructor, they do look out for you. Like, he only found out later, David Goggins found out that behind the scenes, he was arranging an emergency rescue and all that, but he had no idea when he did it. So he did the impossible. It was like a death defying act. And the next line says, and for the first time, I knew I was a bad motherfucker. It was a symbol that we'd advanced to a higher level. And after a lifetime of mostly failure, I definitely felt like I was someplace new. No matter how they're treating you, there is one way to not only earn their respect, but turn the tables: excellence. And whatever standard they set as an ideal outcome, you should be aiming to surpass that. Whoever you're dealing with, your goal is to make them watch you achieve what they could never have done themselves. So let me stop sharing this screen. Those were my journaling, the meditations for chapter 4 of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I'm going to read challenge number 4. So let's get to that. Challenge number 4. Challenge number 4. Choose any competitive situation that you're in right now. Who is your opponent? Is it your teacher or coach, your boss, an unruly client? No matter how they're treating you, there is one way to not only earn the respect, but turn the tables: excellence. That may mean acing an exam, or crafting an ideal proposal, or smashing a sales goal. Whatever it is, I want you to work harder on that project or in that class than you ever have before. Do everything exactly as they ask, and whatever standard they set as an ideal outcome, you should be aiming to surpass that. If your coach doesn't give you time in the games, dominate practice. Check the best guy in your squad and show the fuck out. That means putting time in off the field, watching film so you can study your opponent's tendencies, memorizing plays, and training in the gym. You need to make that coach pay attention. If it's your teacher, then start doing work of high quality. Spend extra time on your assignments. Write papers for her that she didn't even assign. Come early to class. Ask questions. Pay attention. Show her who you are and want to be. If it's a boss, work around the clock. Get to work before them. Leave after they go home. Make sure they see that shit. And when it's time to deliver, surpass their maximum expectations. Whoever you're dealing with, your goal is to make them watch you achieve what they could never have done themselves. You want them thinking how amazing you are. Take their negativity and use it to dominate their task with everything you've got. Take their motherfucking soul. Afterward, post about it on social and add the hashtag can't hurt me, hashtag taking souls. All right, so let's wrap this up. let me do my sharing. I'm curious if you have your own version of taking souls. Share it down below. Do challenge number 4. Now, the only thing I can control or do is myself. So let me end this with a quick sharing. Sharing this. All right, so we're on. So this is my version of taking souls. He mentioned a sales goal, crushing it like that. This is the biggest and the most mind-blowing sales production case or epic shit I ever did in my work. Now, this is in the life insurance industry, so maybe financial advisors, financial consultants, or life insurance agents mostly will understand this. Happened back in 2017. I'll quickly go through it. So, how did it happen? This was a day award. So, in my first few years, first 1, 2 years, I did reach like an entry level achievers club level. So in this day awards, the one of my first big clients sent me this message, 2 words. And this is an old phone. Again, people watching this from the future. This is 2017 HTC Mozart, like an old touch screen phone before I even had like a Samsung Android or like an iPhone, Apple iPhone. So client sends me the 2 word message. Long story short, this client put in 5 million pesos. That's pretty big in a one-time placement back in 2015. And this client, as you can see over there, is at a pretty high position in the bank. Now, without getting too technical, I learned certain things from mentors like estate planning, investments. So I had different mentors for those, not limited to the branch that I was in. My mentor for investments was teaching me comparative rates, updates. I suggested this new product that was launched the year prior in 2016, the Elite 5. Whatever your company is, all that is a limited pay, a 5 year to pay product, whether it's VUL, unit link, or traditional. The point is just get the key lessons that you can apply, right? So challenges. The client wanted a regular pay GIO. What that means is normally it's just the one-time placements that don't need medical. So like a guaranteed issuance offer, GIO. Now, very rarely will you have a product that is limited pay or regular pay. So you pay it in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or continuously. Usually that requires medical. So this client was very eccentric and didn't want any medical at all. Financially, no problem. The client was very willing to comply. So it took out of the box thinking, and it took me, I had to learn this thing called an NMA limit, non medical authority limit. Long story short, I check it out in the system, and my type down here is E. That's the highest. It's exclusive because it starts as, I think it's like general, like the standard, general, premier, and then exclusive is the highest. So this is how it ended that year in 2017. What is the point? What is the taking souls moment? It was a dream for me to achieve $1 million round table, MDRT. And it's the top 2%. So this is not even just like your regular achievers club, like entry level. It's one of the higher or highest standards. Now, this was the standard to meet. 2.5 million production, 2,518,000 and in production requirement during 2017. So what happened because of this client, the mentoring, grace also, I guess, and ironically, the client was also teaching me this. So if you want a deeper dive into this, just message down below. Deep dive. I'm happy to share with my colleagues my best practices. So long story short, 2.5 million to hit $1 million round table. This client ended up putting in 4 million, like almost double it in one go, 2 cases. So prior, if you could see over here, it took me until December 19, like 350 days to hit the first time qualification of $1 million round table. It resets after December 31. I didn't think you could do MDRT in 2 months because this happened in February 28th. I didn't think you can do it in two cases. And I didn't think you can even do it in 1 day. And that blew my mind. So that's the sharing. That's my version of taking souls over here. Let me stop the sharing. I'm curious to see yours, hear yours, feel yours, set it on fire. Thank you. I love you. And I will see you again next time.